As you can see, we still have the big pots out. That means we're making soup again. It's still cold down here in Texas, but today we're making a thick, hearty, homemade pot of chicken and dumplings. So stick around and let me show you how to make the best chicken and dumplings there are. Hello there, I am Chef Johnny, and this is Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine, and today is chicken and dumplings. So thanks for stopping by and checking this out. Guys, I have loved chicken and dumplings my whole life. My mom's mom, grandma, I tell you what, she made the best chicken and dumplings in the world, and I always try to match hers. Don't think I've ever matched up to hers yet, but I try to perfect my recipe to get them where they're as good as hers. But I tell you what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get a bunch of chicken on. We're cooking chicken dumplings for a whole lot of people. I have 2 whole chickens going to go in and about 10 pounds of leg quarters. So those are going to get into our pot with some carrots, some celery, some onions, a bay leaf. Let that start cooking down, and then I'll show you how to make the noodles for it, right? And so let's get the chicken in the pot, get it cooking, and then we'll let y'all see how we make the dumplings. What we're going to do first is I'm just going to take my bird here and I'm going to cut it in half. Just right down the backbone, come to the front, find your breastbone, going to go through it. And if you want to go ahead and quarter it, you can. In fact, we can do that if we want to. Right there. Bird's going into our stock. And what I've got in here is I've got some water already heating up. Drop my chickens into. But then what we're going to do today is we are going to add a little bit of chicken stock to go with it. About a 1/3 cup of just Nora brand chicken bouillon. So that'll go in also. We're going to get these cooking. Celery, just a few stalks, 1 onion, and a couple of carrots. Just going to flavor up this stock and just make it more hearty whenever we make our chicken and dumplings. Now, if you want to drop the giblets in your stock, it's just going to add some extra flavor in there. So, hey, drop those giblets in. Not going to hurt anything at all. And I usually do that when I use a whole chicken in here. Traditionally, this dish would be served bone in, right? We're going to have the bones on our chicken. Today, we're not going to do that. We're going to elevate the dish a little bit is what we call that in culinary cooking. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this out after it's cooked and debone it. I'm going to get this big pot going, and we're going to make some stock in it with our Nora chicken base. Start warming that up because we're going to need more liquid than this chicken is producing over here. I could have done it in the big pot, but what I want to do is get this going, and when we want to start adding in our dumplings, if we want to, we can start cooking them in here while this is still getting shredded. But really, we won't start adding dumplings till there, to maybe when we start shredding this, we'll start putting our dumplings in because it only takes about 10 minutes for you to cook your dumplings. Then we'll add our deboned meat back in the big pot, and we're gonna have about 30 people here today, so we got a lot going on. So hey, stick around. Let's see how we make these dumplings now. We are gonna start making dumplings. I have 2 cups of flour sifted, and I'm gonna add my baking powder. I'm gonna add a little bit of black pepper. I like a little black pepper in mine, so I'm just eyeballing it. You know, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Gonna come in with some salt. About a teaspoon and a half of salt. Right there to give it that. I need my baking powder. If you'd pass me the baking powder, please. On our baking powder, a little more exact on our baking powder, I am going to put in a 1.5 teaspoons. So there's my half. Teaspoons going in. Now just take my pastry blender, stir these in good together. I'm going to use milk in mine today, but traditionally you probably would use water or chicken stock, and we're using butter today to make them. More traditional probably would be shortening or lard would be the traditional. So we've got it in here. You take your pastry blender and you're just smashing the butter into it. This is called cutting in because the ladies used to use knives, or sometimes they would use forks, but you just cut your butter into your flour. And you just work it like that. Let me get this done, And then when I go to add my liquid, I'll bring you back. What I'm gonna do next is I've got a little over a quarter cup of milk. And again, traditionally, you probably would have put a cool chicken stock in there. And I'm not gonna go in with quite all of it. I'm gonna save just a little bit out. And if we need more or less, we'll see what it takes. Some people will use heavy cream to get the liquid part of theirs with. But we're just gonna cut in our milk. And it's looking dry. And I tell you what, guys, this is like making a pie crust or making your biscuits. Sometimes you just look at it and go, that's not enough. And it's by the humidity of that day and things like that. So I'm gonna put all the rest of my milk in. And we're just gonna keep working this until we get a nice dough, fairly soft. And then we're gonna use plenty of flour to roll this out with. Our dough's ready to go. It's a nice, soft dough. Take it out of the container. And I'm gonna dust this, just liberally dust it. It's not like a biscuit or something or some breads where you don't wanna add too much. This, doesn't hurt to have plenty of flour on there. And we're gonna put it out. There we go. You're just gonna dust my rolling pin some, and not a real hard process. And this extra flour, what it's gonna do also is, as we take these out, it is going to really help thicken our broth. And this is, I'd say maybe 3/16. I really don't want them a 1/4 inch thick, but I don't want them 1/8 of an inch either. So fairly thin. And we're gonna make this batch 3 times, all right? So we've got a lot of people to feed. So we're gonna go, it'll end up being 6 cups of flour, right? To make all of our dumplings. That's pretty good. It's thicker than 1/8, thinner than 1/4, so we're good. And one thing that works great is a pizza cutter, because it'll roll and do it, but I just happen to have a knife here, so I'm gonna use a knife today. And about 1 inch, 1.25 inches maybe, as we're cutting our dumplings. And we're gonna put these on a tray with plenty of flour. We will probably thicken our stock some with some more flour, but not exact uniform sizes. We're not worried about that. Again, a rustic dish, a peasant dish, right? Is what we would call this. I've heard me talk about peasant dishes in the past. This is definitely one of them. But I make just little rectangles. I want them a little longer than they are wide. And that's really good enough right there. You can take these and kind of fold them on each other, get all that flour on them. And whenever we put these in, we're just going to drop them in with plenty of flour up on top of them. And that's the way they're going to be. We'll sprinkle a little more flour on them. I don't have a problem with that. We'll get these, lay them on just a cookie sheet pan, and get them ready for when our stock's ready. So there you have it. First batch are done. Not going to bore y'all going through the second and third batches, but we're going to get these on a sheet pan, let them sit. My chicken is looking good. You can see, boy, it's trying to pop out the top here. But we got a full pot of chicken. Cook that down, this stock. We'll strain this and get the stock out, debone this chicken, and everything will move into our big pot where we already have some stock simmering over there, just from a prepared base. But once the chicken's cooked, debone it, and we'll start putting these in once we get the chicken deboned. So we'll get back with y'all in about 30-45 minutes. We'll see y'all back here again. Got the chicken out of the pot. We're gonna start deboning it, get the skin out. This, again, a rustic dish. I like it, bones on. That's the way I grew up with it. My wife, no bones. Do not serve her a bone in her soup. So anyways, I get where I debone it for her, and here today for the people we're cooking for today, we're gonna debone all the meat. So the meat's gonna get deboned. We've got our stock going. This will be strained. Add the 2 stocks together. We'll start dropping in our dumplings. Once they're done, we'll take our deboned chicken meat and get it back in there. But let me get all this chicken out, get it deboned, and then we'll get back with y'all. We've got all of our stock in our big pot now. In the process of deboning our chicken. And what I have here is I just have a flour slurry. It's about a cup and a half of flour, kind of eyeballed it. 3 or 4 cups of water. You could cool off your chicken stock and use it. But I'm just going to use this to thicken our base some. So drop that in. Of course, the flour that's on our dumplings will help thicken it also. It is time to start getting our dumplings in. I end up adding about 4 cups of flour in here. Just made a slurry. You know, normally I say, hey, cook down your flour and get rid of that raw flour taste, right? Make a roux. Don't do that on this dish. It's just not the way it's done. You could also thicken it with cornstarch. But I'm gonna take our noodles and we're gonna start just dropping these in. We've got a good little, I'd say low boil going. But you don't wanna drop them in clumps. You wanna drop them in individually. And that was hot. But anyways, if you do it individually, if in clumps, they're all gonna stick together. So pretty much wanna drop these one at a time. And you don't want it too high of a boil. Just a nice steady boil. This one's getting a little bit big. I'm gonna cut the temperature down a little bit. Just keep dropping all these in there. And of course, this flour is gonna thicken it up even more. And they're starting to float back up. We have got a ton of dumplings going in here. If you drop them from too high, remember they're gonna splash that much higher. And it takes about 10 minutes to cook these. You go longer than that or too high of a boil, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna start cooking away your noodles. We have all the dumplings in. This pot's gonna be full. Got our chicken. This was a little over 20 pounds of chicken, folks. So it's gonna feed a lot of people. Dump in our chicken that's all been deboned. It'll warm back up now. As we stir these in, again, about 10 minutes worth of cook time. And these will be ready to serve up to our guests today. This is looking good. Gonna let it cook maybe another 5 minutes. Let those last noodles get cooked all the way through. And then we are going to dish up a bowl and let y'all see how they turned out. I bet you they're fantastic. Just adjusting the seasoning some. A little salt, a little more pepper. Kind of get that to taste. I remember we had a little pepper in our noodles. Had some in our original stock, and then we've added some to this stock pot here. It is time to try some chicken and dumplings. I'm gonna get my dipper here and try to get me out a nice bowl full. Make sure I get some chicken in there with it. Bowl's looking great. It's nice, it's warm. Plenty of noodles in here with my chicken. Get some of that broth. Let's give this chicken and dumplings a try. Oh yeah. It's where I remember them. Just like Grandma made, I tell you. She made the best, and I'm still trying to perfect them so I can get them as good as hers. Now I tell you what, chicken and dumplings are not just for a cold winter day. I'll cook these eggs throughout the year, but they do go fantastic in the winter also. But a great dish, warms the body, warms the soul. Thanks for stopping by Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine today. I always do appreciate it. Remember to tell your friends and family about us. Hey, remember to share us on your social media. Stand up for God, stand up for the country, stand up for the things we love. We're going to see you down the road on Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine. Goodbye, everybody.
How them boys put food away beats all I've ever seen.